Welcome everyone back to the Crimson 15 podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Sen.
15 PCA.
810-454.
Be sure to check us out over on Twitter at C15 Podcast. Join the discussion over on Discord, link in the description below. And if you're enjoying the videos, be sure to sub, like, share, and hit that bell for notifications. The Owl House Season 2, Episode 12, Elsewhen. Again, hey, it's me. I'm back. I'm going to be doing my reviews again. I've had a ton of eye surgeries, and it's been really hard for me to do anything, but one of my eyes is getting well enough for me to see and edit properly. Because before I had to hold a magnifying glass for everything. It was just awful. But now I'm doing better. My left eye isn't 100%, but my right eye is good enough. So expect more reviews. I'm going to try to catch up before the special. I guess it got announced for later. So I haven't looked forward at any of the spoilers or anything. So I don't know what's happening. But for this episode, be sure to check out my TikTok. I do like little 3-minute reviews over there. So if you just want the quick and dirty, go to my TikTok. The link's in the description below. You can check out that video there. But it is an okay episode. They do it's an info drop episode where it kind of moves the plot along. Like, okay, now we know some more of these mysteries. The problem is it's time travel. And whenever you introduce time travel, there are so many things because there's paradoxes. There's so many issues with going back in time, because by going back in time, it changes everything. But did those things already happen? They must have already happened, because then how did he get the book? How did he write those parts? When we get to it, we'll talk about it. I don't like adding time travel. It's like multiverse stuff. It's really tough to do if you don't have a lot of rules. But overall, it's a 7 out of 10. That's an okay episode. And of course, Ida's the best part, because she always is the best part. Has there ever been an episode where there was an Ida B storyline and it wasn't better than the main storyline? Like, really? I don't think, not so far, not to me. But looks like we're having a little party. We open up, and I guess Lilith, remember she left with her mom, go hang out with her dad, which was sad because I liked when the sisters were together. They didn't spend not nearly enough time together. But I guess Lilith has a new job with the Emperor. She's like some assistant, like a historical person thing. Something she'd have to use magic for. But why in the world would the Emperor take her back? Your sister's like a criminal. I know they did that kind of like, oh, her shame of not having magic's her punishment. Unless Belos knows more about what's happening, because when we get to the back in time stuff, there's no way he doesn't remember that he met them before. But so she gets this new job. We see this new character off to the left. I'm like, okay, who's that? She has a really dumb name, like it rhymes. She's a historical person, but she's like Indiana Jones all the way down to having a whip. Guys, this is it's so dumb. Why give her a whip? Because know how in Indiana Jones, he's an archaeologist and he's also like an adventurer. So she's like that, but not that. She's able to like whip a griffin out of the sky and like slam it to the ground and then just fly off on it. Is that her griffin or just some random griffin? Why is everyone so physically strong now? I always hated the idea of your magic users being also like physical badasses. I hate that, because then what's a fighter then? Because you're just as good as they are. There's things like battle mages, and you kind of have the cleric that kind of plays that middle ground where they can do like, physical attacks. But there should be a separation, but there is no separation here. There's no downside of being a wizard or a witch or whatever. Anyways, it was a silly thing. Lilith ends up talking to Luce, and I guess she's like, oh, that was my former colleague. She's in the historical society, but then, of course, Liv's like, I'm going to make a thing in the museum, and it's going to be like, so the best museum, exposition ever. But the problem is Lilith is kind of, she's a super nerd, but it's cute though. I like it. So it's funny because what she thinks is cool and awesome is like totally not. It's so funny. It's adorable. But Luce is like, oh, maybe, she's looking through her book, trying to figure out what's going on. And remember this picture right here. I'm going to show it right here. Talking about how with Philip, like she's going through the book. And of course, it's the whole memory mouse thing. So like it plays out. How does that work? No one has ever explained to me, how does it know what page or chapter she wants to go to? Like how does the mouse know? It's such a stupid plot device. And why would it be visual? Wouldn't it be just like text? Anyways, so we see that there's this collector person. The person is like a moon face. It's the moon guy. Remember back in the day, that was like a mascot for McDonald's, like the moon face guy. That's who it is. But they're like, maybe if I can only go back in time. And she's like, hey, Ida, is time magic a thing? And she's like, well, not really, but I used to believe like in all these like conspiracy theories and stuff when I was growing up. And me and Lilith try to find these time pools, and they're like able to like go not even to look back in time, but to actually go back in time. But it's all a mystery. It's not real. It's fake. It's like, oh, Lilith, I'll go talk to her about it because she's super smart. So she's like, oh my goodness, I remember this. Me and Ida, we kind of made a tracking device to find these things, but it wasn't powerful enough. I didn't have the right kind of, power source to actually run this machine, this device she made to find this. It's so convenient. It's a dragon radar. And she's straight up Bulma now. But she goes, hey, well, what about this? I'll give you a little bit of Titan's blood. Because it was on that glove, a little bit of the blood. So every time she like opened the door, she lost one of the fingers. Now she used another one. So she only has so much of this Titan blood. But it's able to give it to her, and she can use it to like actually power up her device. They go into the woods, which is, I'm assuming, not even that far away. It's like right there. And she's like, oh, these are like wrinkled ash wood or something. She's like, what do you mean? These trees don't look old at all. I was like, oh, there's a time dilation here that's holding these trees and keeping them young. They get to the beach and there's nothing there. Like she's like, oh, maybe my calculations are wrong. Maybe I was wrong. She's doubting herself. Again, it's all adorable. But Luce just so happens to find the portals are like in the sand. And she pokes her head through and sees like, caveman times. And then Lilith's like, oh, it's the greatest, discovery of all time. And they're poking the heads around, more gags and stuff like that. She so happens to stick her head in and sees a lady. Hey, what age is it? Oh, it's the age of whatever. That's the time that Philip was around. How convenient. I know they have to make it happen quickly, but it shouldn't have been so random. It's a little weird, unless it's one of those things where Bello set it up knowing that she would go back in time. Well, when you involve time travel, it's always an issue. But she's like, oh, before we go in, we have to really think about what we're doing. But because all the stuff that can go down, but I want to be like the cool auntie, And she's like, oh yeah, even in my diary, I write you as like my cool aunt. So it's not really Luce manipulating her as much as like giving her confidence in herself. So like, okay, Lilith's going to be the cool aunt. B plot. Ida's like, hey mom, why are you still hanging out? It's like, oh, your father wants to talk to you. You can, come out and talk to him. It's been a long time. And she's like, oh no. So it jumps back and forth between Ida not wanting to meet her dad and this storyline. I'd rather just have Ida and her dad. But they start walking around. They find some like hats and stuff. They're like, oh, it's going to be such a dangerous place because this is before wild magic was outlawed and everything. But it seems like a pretty chill place. And I like all these like background characters. They're super cool. This girl's really cute. She has one big eyeball. I love it. But they run into Philip is getting harassed by like these two big dudes. Like, yeah, man, they're kind of like smacking him around. And they're like, oh no, like that's Philip. We got to go save him. Get back to Ida and mom. I like how she calls her Owlet. That's super cute. This is a super good joke. I absolutely love this.
Hiya, Ida! Your pops is such a nice guy. Say, how'd he get that scar on his...
She's trying to escape. But of course, the mom's talisman shows up and she can't get out the window. She goes to the other window. Then Hootie's out there. Wow, Ida. How did he get that scar? It's so funny because that's what she blames herself. Even though it was the curse and everything, she like... Since that day, she hasn't seen her father. So it's been like 20 years. So she effed him up, like to the point to where he can't make talismans anymore because he was like one of the best in the world or whatever, on the bowling aisles at least. And his hand got jacked, his face got jacked, and she blames herself for all that. So she doesn't want to meet her dad. It's just too much. But then she kind of gets the idea from King's like, oh, look, you can use this little like the mop thing. And he's like, oh, look at me, I'm Lilith. And it's like, oh, I'm going to dress up like her and sneak out. Luce and Lilith, they go and save him. And these guys are kind of messing him up, knocking him around. They're tough guys. But then they say a line. They're like, oh, you're going to, because they have different colored fangs. And that's what they, blue fang, red fang. It's like, well, we're going to find out what you did with blue fang. And he's like, well, whatever. We don't want to waste our time with this stupid kid. So I'm like, that sounds that's a little sketchy there. I don't like it, Philip. You're coming off as that classic scientist guy that goes, well, as long as it gets results, it doesn't matter what I sacrifice. Like the ends justify my means. So they kind of talk. She's like, no, I can help you find the collector. And he's like, oh, really? You know about the collector? So she shows him like the rune magic. And he's like, oh, I thought I was the only one. And he knows all the ones that she knows. Like the snowflake and everything. Kind of like how he's like, oh, it was like the land was telling me how to find these things. But it took him years. And it took Luce days, maybe weeks. Not very long for her to find all the rune magic that she has, the glyphs. Which is weird because he says it took him years. But I don't know. It's the whole thing like the land wanted me to know. So maybe the land wanted Luce to know quicker. But she shows him the light spell. And he's like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Writes it down. So now she gave him more magic. This is why you don't do things like that. You needed to be as close to your chest as possible. But he's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's wonderful. And then he makes like a huge room with all kinds of like, it looks like one of those old school like astrology things. And they're like, what's this do? Oh, it's a shortcut. So this is a teleport thing. I wonder what the distance is or how you calculate it. I'm assuming that's what all those, basically is like a star chart. Get back to Lilith. Not Lilith. I say Lilith. Get back to Ida dressed up as Lilith. And she just keeps kind of like talking like how Lilith used to talk. That whole like straight back, her hands, oh, it's just me, mother. I'll go find Ida. And the fact that she thought this would fool her mom, like even the mom's like, dude, King, do you really think? Did she think that I think that was really Lilith? And then King's like, just let her be. Just let her have it. She tries to escape, but sees her dad waiting outside. And she's like, oh, hi, Dad. And it's like, oh, okay. I want to watch this scene. I don't want to watch any other stuff. Philip K. Hoffman. Philip takes him straight inside to the Titan's head, inside the skull. And they're like, whoa, this is a sacred place. Not allowed to be here. And then he's like, oh, that's why no one will ever want to adventure with me. And he's kind of kissing her butt a little bit, making Luce feel super special because Philip's why waste any of my stuff when I can waste all your stuff? And there's a puzzle on the wall, and we see that Lilith's like, wait a second, this puzzle's already half solved. And if he can already solve one half, he can definitely solve the other half because it's like you put your hand, they don't even explain what the puzzle is. Super lazy. I hate that. But she's like, oh, Lilith, I know you're smart enough. You can do that. I'll go talk to Philip. And then he's writing in his journal with his little book, like, oh, I overcame the beast and I wasn't able to save my 2 adventurer friends. Like he straight wrote his like confession of like letting them die. Lilith gets the door open. She gets pulled in by the monster. And then Philip's like, yeah, there needed to be a sacrifice. First, I thought like a literal sacrifice, like it was like a blood magic or something. No, he just wanted someone to like get in the way of the monster while he got what he needed. He's like, yeah. And that's what goes, well, hopefully you guys are stronger than Blue Fang. So that was the last guy that the other 2 people were talking about. I'm assuming they're brothers. The brothers were talking about because he wasn't strong enough to fight this thing. So he would just need someone to like die so he can go get what he needs. Like, what a complete a-hole. Animation gets better for a second. They do that whenever there's an action scene, like the animation like takes a step up, but it's not even that good of a fight scene. There's really not much to it. Some flame and stuff like that. It's not that great. So they're trying to escape this thing, try to stay alive. Philip finds what he's looking for. I guess it's like a, I don't know, disc, and it has the symbol of the moon on it. So I'm like, okay, so this is something to maybe to find the collector. Like maybe this was a piece to add to whatever he's looking for. But we see that because earlier in the episode, when they went in the past to look at the dinosaurs, they didn't go in there. They just looked at them. And Liv was like, oh, this dinosaur has a ticklish spot behind its ear. And this is the same kind of animal. And then that's how she beats it. Or Luce beats it. So lame. Anyways, Philip gets out and he's like, oh, oh, so here you are, because they caught up to him like riding on the beast. And then he's like, oh, he's like talking major crap. Like, oh, if you want knowledge, maybe we can do like a little exchange, because she's trying to make a portal. And he's like, oh, I'm not doing that right now. This is for something else. Like that little disc, it's like a mirror or something. And like, that's for something else. And he's like, oh, but we can make a deal if you want to trade knowledge or information. And then Lilith just punches him in the face, like totally breaks his nose. The effing with time is so blatant. But was it this whole interaction was able to give him the power that he needed to overcome the Bowling Isles and take everything over? Like, were they the ones that made it happen? So if Bellows met Luce and them in the past, then he knows who she is when he met her the first time. So does he know more? Like, it's weird. Like, that's like even talking about time travel stuff. So he always knew Lilith from forever ago, because they came up with stupid fake names, but he's not a dum-dum. Get to the good part. Liv's talking to her dad, and he's like, you ran away. We try to find you. You try to rebuild the old tower. Then I see you're on a wanted poster. And he's like, why didn't you let us help you? But then she's like, well, I don't, you don't need to be chasing me anymore. I don't need your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But that's not up to you. That's the other person. If the other person wants to forgive you, they can. And the thing about forgiveness is it's two ways. It releases you of something, and it helps the other person too. Because even if it was, she just assumes her dad like hates her, which is totally not true. Yes, it was a bad mistake and it wasn't really your fault, but it did happen. There's no way he hates you. But she was too scared of that reality being real, of like her father hating her, because she ruined can't even make talismans anymore. He's like, hey, don't worry about that. Let the past be in the past, which is kind of funny because that's the exact opposite of what Lilith and Luce did. They actually physically went to the past. But he's like, here, look, I got one of these, the talisman seeds. Remember how the wood is going extinct because the freaking Bellows is taking them all? It's like, hey, I'm helping the Bat Queen replant everything. So maybe I can teach someone else to take up the craft of making talismans. And this is absolutely the sweetest this is the stuff I love with all my heart and soul.
And give Albert my regards. Carving him with you is one of my dearest memories.
Father, daughter, we made your talisman together. It's like his favorite memory. I'm like, oh, my little heart. But like, oh, that was really sweet. Then Lilith and Luce show back up, and they're like, oh, so what did you nerds do all day? And like, oh, we met Philip. She's like, really? Yeah. And then I kind of explained, he's like, whatever, I don't care about your nerd stuff. Get back to Bellows, and he's like, oh, those stupid witches. I can't stand those witches. So did they set that whole him stopping, wild magic? Did they set those wheels in motion? I'm thinking they caused all their own problems, but it's one of those things where like it had to happen, I'm assuming. But we see some more stuff on the wall, and his arm's all jacked up, like the runes on his arm are starting to like mutate. I'm thinking one or two things happened. He overused this magic and it caused him to like become like a monster. He experimented with some type of magic and it caused him to become the monster. He did something with his brother and they combined, and then like his body's like dying now, but because he cracks open like one of those wood things to get the energy out of it to like heal him. So I'm assuming this is something that's killing him. And he either sacrificed his brother, because he starts talking and he has like a double voice, like the Bellows sounding voice and then his Philip sounding voice, which it's either that or like his brother's inside of him. Like he like absorbed him or something. But he makes the little moon sigil thing and he's like, oh, and you're going to help me do this. End of episode. Again, not bad. A lot of, when I say the info dump, which is fine, because you got to do that eventually. I'd rather it be slowly spread out and then leave filler episodes and silly, stupid things behind, like playing sports and stuff, and let it be about the cool story. So they have to do it all in one episode. This collector person, I'm assuming is like an elder god or something, because if he's already like an old man, and how much time passed between the Elden times and now, and Bellows is still alive, and this collector still is alive, they're either like a spirit or something like that, or a demon maybe. But yeah, I thank you so much for getting to the end of the video, watching all the way through. I love all the comments. I can actually read them now again. Share the videos around. I know I'm behind, but I love watching cartoons and animation, and I love talking about animation, and being able to do it again has been such a joy for me. So share the video around, like it, hit me up on Twitter. There's a Discord, all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm always there. I read every comment. I may not respond to everyone, but I do see your comments, and it means the world to me. So thank you guys. I'm probably going to try to churn these out as quickly as possible so I can kind of catch up. But thank you. Love you all. See you on the next one.
You want it? There's an extra one. I'm working on it.
No, that's okay.
Crimson's in here. Thanks for watching the video. Remember, liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting on the video really helps out a lot. It gets the video spread around more people get to see the videos, and we get to make more videos for you guys. So thank you, and we appreciate every single one of you guys.